I want to kind of share a little bit in terms of the first time I actually heard about you, Ambika ji. त्यो चाहिँ कहिले थियो भने after starting TGND, and very soon we started the Diaspora Mapping Survey. We felt a need that the up-to-date information about our diaspora was missing and so on. So त्यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think the first paper that we actually read as a group to get started was हजुरको, in terms of the work you've done on diaspora and so on, which was a really great starting point, and it gave us a lot of insights and so on. Through the TGND ko tarfबाट पनि we're obviously working on that as well. What I'd love to ask you is, you've been doing this research for a while, right? And you understand the need and so on. I'd love for you to explain to our audience why they should be a part of something like this. A diaspora mapping survey. What is it? Why should I put this information? And you're the perfect person, I think, the perfect ambassador to talk about it. So I'd love for you to share it with our audience.
Thank you for that question. That is definitely, that's one of the passions that I definitely have. Partly because the reason that I had my feet in two boats for such a long time was cultural, my own kind of sense of insecurity, my own sense of identity, and my own sense of a little bit of the romanticism of working in. So especially having been involved in the people's movement in 1990, I was a student here, but even from here, we did contribute a lot of things in terms of making protests, going to White House, the Capitol, writing papers, calling people, trying to support the new democracy coming in Nepal in 1990. I was very young at that time. So that I had some interest with a good education, luckily, that going back to Nepal and, something like what Sorin Morley is doing right now. In my years, at least, he's a very smart guy, but in my years, I also had some sparks like that a little bit, right, in the previous generation. So working in the actual development sector in Nepal, doing roads, talking to people, thinking about anthropology, thinking about some increase in the standard of living of Nepalese people, improving the education system in Nepal. Those kind of things used to kind of romanticize me. And I know I like it here. It's a good country here. Downsides in America, but by and large, you make a good living, you get a job, and you can work, and you can be pretty comfortable. But because I was so much plugged in, because I came from the village and I had walked bare feet, and I knew the system out there, and went to public schools, went to even similar school in India, taught at government university in Nepal. So my interest was kind of see people, everyone who doesn't have a lot of initial benefit, like coming from a big city and having rich parents, they should all have that kind of opportunity. So that was one of my motivations. Young people have some idealism, and I have some of that. Now, Nepal definitely gave me a lot of prestige, identity, and sense of belonging. We all do things that really suit us in the long run, right? At the end, it has to work for you. So that's what was working for me. And that's what, even after having residency here in North America, I went back. So that is one thing that when I lived here, I was kind of missing a little bit of that. So once I found a community, and then of course through a diaspora, at least there's a platform that you are linked, even if you don't live in Nepal and you're not completely part of the Nepalese society, but in terms of its development equation, you can become a really significant part and you can do something. So there was one motivation of kind of working on it. So you'll see that although kind of in terms of journal publication, there are only a few, but I had done a lot of organizations of diaspora meetings and put some books and booklets out of that. The first one I did was long time ago at the University of Toronto in 1993. I think that was the largest, first really high-level international conference of the Nepali diaspora. Something like 100 attendees, ministers from Nepal, the vice chairman of planning commission from Nepal, ambassadors, or lots of people from the World Bank, and all of that. We organized with a little bit of support from the Canadian government, and we actually published a book called The Economic Strategy for Nepal. So that was one of the first, and that kind of gave me that connection of what I had always wanted to do. So that is one. And the second one is now we live here, children are here, right? And the second generation is here. It's very difficult for them to go back. Very few, some people will go back, maybe for a short period of time, but by and large, their life is going to be wherever they are, just because we brought them here. And how do we actually connect? And how do we think of all the welfare of that particular diaspora who's still straddling between the two cultures, right? At least several generations straddle the two cultures. And how do you do that? One way is to organize the diaspora. Think about it like you're doing a great work in terms of entrepreneurship and all that. So that really kind of helps us build our own capacity, not only for the benefit of Nepal, but if we are not able to stand on our own feet, and if we do not really understand the strength and weaknesses that we have, there's not much we can do. So, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage.